at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth till dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern and talk about guns for an hour. Just a couple of minutes late tonight, but it is the eve of Christmas Eve, so I'm not sure how many people are going to show up. Matt was just doing the chat over there. And I had quite a few people watching it there, but I think somebody is corking me right now. So we'll see if anybody shows up to this chat or not. With that, been working on some projects, posted a video today of the 2A rally and the turnout to that. So that didn't work. It didn't publish for me, and I haven't had a chance to go back and see what's up with that. But I went live quickly earlier this afternoon, and we shared the screen with that software, or with that video. So what's this blinking at me for? This is blinking at me. So anyway, we'll see if anybody shows up. But during that chat, saw some interest. I was watching some videos and watching an interesting one with Stephen Holbrook, I believe, if I'm remembering it right. I guess I could look at my history. And it was pretty interesting, talking about he was talking about history, and then that was interesting. I probably put a couple of notes over at Minuteman University from his discussion, but then it rolled over into, I guess, a debate, a back and forth between that guy, the author, and then some anti-gunner who was, an anti-gunner. So it was interesting to hear some of the positions, to actually listen to some of the positions, and so I wrote some of that stuff down, but being Christmas Eve, I don't know how many people are going to want to chat about that, so I'm not going to just sit here and rant about it. But that's what I've been working on most of the day, and I can do a quick editing here while I'm waiting for people to show up. So I just now ended up Matt's chat a little later than our show normally starts, and it was just wrapping up because the Star Wars came out, and everybody was chatting about it. And I don't know what kind of alerts are going on, how many people are going to want to watch me mumble here, knowing that I'm about to shut down if no one joins me. And I don't even know I haven't had a chance to go watch that other show. If it's rocking and rolling, then let me know. They're probably not going to jump over or end it. So then I'll just let this one drop off. I'm only doing it to have a place to have a conversation, but I think most people are probably spending time with their families or sleeping. So some pretty interesting things from this guy, this gun prohibitionist. So I'm gonna start calling people now. So this gun prohibitionist's position that, well, listening to these two people bicker basically about the M16 and the AR-15. How do we stop early shutdown? I don't know. I just don't like mumbling, so if somebody joins in, then that's one thing, but I got no interest in just sitting here. So anyway, I put some notes down here, but mostly just bullet points. Kind of an interesting back and forth with defense versus offense. It's kind of interesting here trying to go back and see what I was writing down in these notes. So, and I thought this actually shut the one guy down. So I listened, I guess I was describing there that I listened to one description or one history of assault weapons from this guy who's an author, and it was tough to listen to because he basically was wrong. He said some things that didn't, I guess they kind of sounded okay, but they were just wrong. You expect somebody, especially somebody supposed to be a man or whatever, you'd think that they would be correct on stuff. So there was this guy and then some other guy, some weird, I don't know who he was, some guy who talked real weird, had a real weird drawl, and it was distracting, and it's probably part of his thing. He just used a lot of language and diversionary tactics, I guess. He'd kind of branch off and loop around and didn't really accomplish saying much of anything. And it was interesting to just hear this complain, and it's hard to even explain. He did it. It's a very political way of speaking, where he addressed concern about so many different things, and then tried not to, I guess intentionally didn't want to leave them resolved, and then came back to the beginning. So it seems like he accomplished a bunch of stuff in what he said, but really just didn't really say a lot of stuff. And the stuff that he did say towards the end was extremely wrong. And I was concerned that the way their format was, though, each of them got like 15 minutes uninterrupted, and then a 3-minute rebuttal, and then there was questions. And this or the gun prohibitionist side had said something, and was getting, I thought he was going to be able to kind of get out on the high note, I guess. And then this author, I think it was the author, came up with this pretty interesting. Actually, no, it wasn't the author. It was the next one. Similar situation. It was just the next little debate or whatever this thing was, this back and forth. Same format, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, and then discussions. And it was, I think after the first guy, the gun prohibitionists, 3 minutes, that this first guy got a kind of a word in. And he kind of stopped him, I think, in his tracks. So that discussion had evolved into the assault weapon. Well, the first thing I watched was about assault weapon. The second one was about a debate about assault weapons, and this third one was just about guns, but it evolved into assault weapons. That's probably why YouTube suggested it to me after those other videos. But it went from guns to assault weapons. And the idea that, I don't know if it was, I think it was also from like 2014 or something, so it was not recent. But I don't know if the gun prohibitionists had brought facts to the table that were about the features of an assault rifle or assault weapon, I guess. And if the pro-gun owners' rights guy, was prepared for that, or if it was like a topic of the day and they were just both going to they were going to be talking about that either way. But the discussion got from gun control to assault weapons to features of assault weapons. And that was interesting as hell to listen to, I guess. But like I say, I was concerned that the gun prohibitionist was going to get the last word. But then at the last minute, this other guy, who had been kind of a dimwit, and he was not factually incorrect, he just didn't argue good points in a good way, in my opinion. But at the last minute, when I thought he was going to completely just kind of be barely adequate, he came up with this. And that's a long way of explaining, because I was hoping somebody was going to jump in here, but I guess that'll be it, because 10 minutes now, 11 people watching, but there's nobody jumping in here. It's boring. But this guy said, I don't know what he was, a lawyer or something. He kept saying here's John Crumb. We got somebody in here. Thank you for jumping in.
Hey,
so I was
Merry Christmas.
About video. Hey, Merry Christmas. I was describing, I'm just going to go look at my history over here and just quit trying to describe it. I was watching a couple of videos earlier, and I was just describing them. It started out, do you know who Stephen Halbrook is?
Yes.
Okay, so I had watched a video that he did on assault weapons, and then that turned into something else, and then it turned into this. I think it's from the Federalist Society, some sort of like a 15-minute. Two people talk. They each get 15 minutes by themselves. Then they get 3 minutes to kind of go back and forth, like the reply to the other person's talk, and then it's questions from the audience. So it wasn't really a debate, but it was they're each on both sides of a position, and I watched these different positions. One was about assault weapons, and the next one was about gun control. And I was just saying how it devolved into assault weapons, and specifically the features, like this whole concept that an assault weapon in the eyes of a gun prohibitionist is a gun that holds a detachable magazine and a feature. And again, either because of the time frame of this thing when it actually was taking place or whatever, like that's what they happen to be focused on. And this guy who was the gun prohibitionist, the guy that wanted guns gone, he was saying that it's so, so dangerous that assault weapons have these features that make them so easy to kill. And it's so, they're not just cosmetic features, as the opposition would say, but instead they're designed to make it more, practical to kill or whatever. And their only purpose is assault. And it's super frustrating. And I know they say this stuff over and over in such a way because they know it's like, it gets you emotional. It gets you in the gut, and it makes you want to shake them by the collar and say, come on, you're wrong. Like, you're not even understanding. You're not listening. But I think that's part of their strategy, right? So I was concerned that this guy who he was debating, which was not Stephen Holbrook or whatever anymore. This was just some other guy, because the video had moved on to another debate. So it was just some guy, and he was barely adequate. He was barely keeping the position right. He wasn't factually wrong, but he wasn't good at what he was doing. But at the last minute, he brought up this, and I thought it was pretty good because he seemed to shut the other guy up pretty well. And the basic situation again was there was these two guys having this back and forth in a public situation at some school or some think tank or something. So it was cordial and it was, regimented or whatever. And the one guy was saying how AR-15s are so dangerous because they have the capacity to hurt so many people, and these features that make it more ergonomic or more efficient to kill have no other purpose to exist. Their only purpose is to do offensive stuff. And then this guy's pro-gun guy's response was that military and police both define AR-15s as a defensive rifle, that they have other tools, well, that the police basically have no tools for offense. Their only job is to defend themselves and the people, and that the military has other guns for other things for offensive work. Like this particular tool that this guy is saying there's no other definition for than to be offensive, literally is defined as a defensive tool by everyone who he claims are the only people that should have one. And I just had never heard that particular argument or whatever. Have you heard that one before?
I have. Talk about Stephen Holbrook. He actually goes.
Oh, you were really noisy there for a minute, and now you were talking, and now it went blank. I don't know if you unmuted or muted or what. I don't know if anybody else, it's 14 people out there now, if anybody else has heard that kind of whatever. There you are, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're back. There we go, now you're back.
Okay, weird. No, yeah, I have heard that before, actually. It's one of the arguments that I usually go to a lot, because you hear that they're offensive weapons. Well, what makes a gun an offensive weapon and a defensive weapon? If you want to play that game, then we can look at what the police departments call it.
Well, I like the idea that it really it bypasses, like it gets all around the like he shed, she shed, or whatever you want to call it, of like, well, should the grip be long or should the grip be angled, or any of the little specifics, any of the things like, well, you think this is dangerous, but I think it's not. or this has been used a lot in crime, or this might only be used in crime. It gets rid of all of that hypothetical and just gets down to the nitty gritty of you're saying that this thing's only purpose is to be offensive. However, the police who have no purpose, like their job is not like the military to go out and hunt. Their job is only to protect. And why would they have this exact same gun? If their job is only to protect, they just the definition, it doesn't matter any of the bells and whistles or any of the specifics about its lethality. They have it to defend. And his position, I guess, to extrapolate on it, his position was if the police aren't even ever tasked with offense, they're only tasked with defense, and they have these, that tells us it's a defensive tool. So that your argument about it being only offensive is wrong. But the other thing is that he was saying that not only is it defensive for the police, but oh, I lost it. I'll think of it when I can't. I'm not trying to think of it again. But anyway, I thought that was a neat because mainly because it shut that other guy up. And the other guy's argument was, I was just watching a thing about a Tesla valve. You know what a Tesla valve is?
Yeah.
It's just for people that have heard of it or can't picture it, it's just a way that you can cut a channel through a material like wood or metal or something, plastic, I guess. And it's just a way to cut a channel through a material that it's just a channel. So there's no moving parts and there's nothing more to it than just cutting a channel into a material, or 3D printing nowadays. But it's a way that you do it in such a way that it looks like a bunch of teardrops kind of touching each other, and fluid or air or whatever can go through it in one direction very easily, and at one speed, and then going the other way, it's going to go through it's going to go through with more turbulence, therefore it's going to go through slower. So it's just a non-mechanical, simple machine that just creates some little vortexes. That's clever. And that's what it kind of felt like. This guy's freaking words, his like well thought out, like garbage words were basically designed to be like going through one of those Tesla valves backwards. Like it was just a bunch of words to tread water because he was supposed to be saying something, but he wasn't. And then here's the end of what he was saying. And it was all about the cadence and it was all about this and that. But the way he was saying it and the stuff that he was saying, especially because it was all about, I'm not bringing up any details. It was all about like little stupid specifics of assault rifle features. And because he was saying all this specific stuff, it was just getting in one ear and out the other. Like nobody in their right mind, unless they have to, is going to listen to this guy. They're really just listening to what he wants you to buy. He's saying, this is how bad it is. This is why I'm selling it to you. This is why I'm asking you to buy it. This is how bad it is. This is why you got to buy. And he knows people are just waiting for the price. So it was a lot of that. And this guy, I didn't think was going to be affected by anything the pro-gun guy was going to say, because he wasn't very effective. But when he said this thing about the police, because at first I was like, he's going to talk about the military police, big deal. But when he said that concept of the police don't do anything offensive. So the fact that they even own this thing tells us that it has to be at least offensive. That guy just kind of looked like, uh-oh, and he started stacking his papers on his desk. Anyway, so that's just something I happened to see while I was doing that video today. Now you were around, you responded, but I was just editing some video and I found the stuff from the 2A rally and I had started to do some editing, and then I got to a point where I was like, what, I really want to know how many people were there, and I took this video specifically to do that. So it was just a step I needed to take to finish the bigger project, and I finished it this afternoon, the count and making the little video, and I thought, well, I'm just going to post that video, right? I have to cough, hold on. I had to post that video, and it wouldn't take it. So I just said, screw it. After like 3 attempts of trying to post it, I just went live and played it live. So I'll still have to post it at some point so everybody can see it at full screen. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, and even if you did, you only got to see it like through my picture in a picture. But Did you get a chance to see what I did there to kind of try to count the crowd?
Yeah, I did. I think you're probably dead on the crowd number.
Like I said, it can't be dead on because there's people behind flags. There's no way I
Well,
counted
not dead
that.
on, but
It had
close.
to be around 1,000. I'm figuring, right? I get kicked out, but I counted 855 is the spoiler. You can either go watch that live video again, or uh, like I say, I'll whenever I can post it, I'll post it. Is what's his face still live over there? He's quirking me. It was a pre-Christmas quirk too. It's worse than regular quirk. He must have texted Crump and said, "Don't go into that guy's chat. We're over here chatting off air." Night Strike's over there on the tube. They're having some kind of off-air Christmas party after that Crumpus chat or whatever they just had over there. Oh well, I was hoping to hear what Crump was going to say about 7,000 people or so. What, did I get disconnected? He didn't send nobody over here. There's only 12 people over here. More like he told Crump he couldn't be in this chat, is what he probably meant to say. They're probably having like those little tiki huts around that water feature. It's got little areas around there set up. Oh, one person. All right. So one person came over from the court. All right, well, I kind of got going there, but I don't think John's going to come back now. Maybe his computer ran out of juice or his phone ran out of battery. So anyway, this guy was interesting. I got a couple of good pieces of data from his talks there, but mostly just kernels to extrapolate on nothing. Like I say, his facts were a little. The first guy, that Stephen Holbrook guy, was I don't know. I thought he was somebody else when I first started listening to him, or when I first saw his name, but I was confusing him with a Kalashnikov author. He's a Second Amendment guy. He is involved with writing amicus briefs for the Heller 2, and Miller, I think. All right, well, I guess I could go over here to the library. Oh, the library is going to be something different. Now we just do upbeat elevator music for an hour each night, and during this time you can think about things. Falling water, wind, or something. But no, I have not. I have been because of the holiday or whatever, I suppose. I got stuff. My weekend got smashed around, so I haven't been doing much TV watching. Although I have had that Star Wars movie. I've been watching. I watched that 4 times. It's different. All right, we'll go back to elevator music. I'm thinking about a new format where I just do elevator music, like 45 minutes, 47 minutes each evening. Give people like a yoga time. Anyway, so
that would rock. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, no worries. So then, like I was saying, let's say about 1,000-ish people or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I just
that's what I would
thinking,
guess, but
I learned that I don't estimate good. I was thinking I was like 2,000. I would have put money on 2,000, closer to 2,000, I think, before I counted.
yeah. Well, I mean, I thought I sucked at it, but apparently I don't. So
Yeah, you got pretty close. So then, yeah, like I said, I was thinking too that I think Jeff Knox had commented on the video, I guess. See, it's weird because I posted the video and for whatever reason it didn't publish. But he posted on the live stream thing that I did, which I'll probably pull down because it's pretty sloppy compared to just the video by itself. But he had said something about I don't know what he said, but it was my answer was that it doesn't matter the number of people that showed up. People would have always had something to complain about, and the main thing is those people that did show up. Kind of what I was saying at the end of the show because I wasn't sure if he had listened to the whole thing or not, but that idea that I think that the people that did show up weathered the traffic and the lack of parking and the sports stuff that was happening, and the fact that they had no reason to even go. It was the first one. They had nothing to anticipate. They didn't have any payoff. Like the best they could do is be part of it. And we still had 1,000 people that did that. And somebody like me, if I got all the way there and that baseball thing happened, well, okay, I'm pretty much going to go anyway because I put a lot of time and effort to get there. But somebody who's 2 or 3 hours away, they could have said, "Nah, I don't need to be here. Like I can go to the next one, or let's see how it happened." Million excuses. So, I mean, the baseball thing, I think, stopped a lot of people who are within like 3 hours, who have been to DC before and who understand what a giant baseball thing means. And because there was no precedent, they were like, maybe I won't go. And I think we probably lost. Now that I know there was 1,000 people there, I'm going to say, because there's no way to know, I'm just going to throw a number. I think it's probably easy 500 people, right? We could have seen at least another third or half of the event was what we had there if it would have been like a regular Sunday or a regular Saturday. I mean.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that we're going to see a big turnout on the 20th in Richmond. That's going to dwarf that.
Insane, right?
Yeah.
Now we have a number to count too. So what I did, I don't know if you heard, I just one of those guys with one of those flags there. I just had a piece of shock cord on the back of my phone case so that I could do stuff like that. And I just stuck my phone on the back of on a pole, stuck that pole as high as I could in the air, and then just kind of turned around in a circle. Tried to point the phone at the ground a little bit. And I think if somebody had like a tripod or something and thought about that ahead of time, you could do that with a tripod and have a nice camera up there and just hold the tripod as high as you can and do a spin like that. And not necessarily footage, but at least for a count, you could do it.
Yeah, I had my 3D camera. I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah, see, that would work too, because then you wouldn't have to do the step of I would stick all the pictures next to each other and not count the same people twice. So you could just do what I did and start scribbling on their head or whatever and say don't count anybody twice and just go around in a circle with that thing.
Yeah.
And if that with the three, I've been wanting to get a 3D camera for a while, or a 360 camera for a while. You could have done that with a 360 on a pole, like every 2 hours or something. And then you'd have a before, during, after type of thing.
I know a lot of people left early. because they were worried about getting home.
Well, I mean, I guess yes and no. I mean, everybody waited till the national anthem, but then look, everybody was out of there quick. So I think that there would have been a little more sticking around if there wouldn't have been all the lack of parking and the worried about the sports taking up all the buses and.
No, but some people who had,
Oh, see, I don't know. I didn't realize I wasn't. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Once I got into the swing of it, I was digging it. I was taking pictures and talking to people and shit. And all of a sudden, it was over. So I wasn't really taking a look to compare. Half an hour away or an hour into it, or I was just going to look around, and then all of a sudden, it was over.
yeah. So I think a lot of people. I know a few people who actually left that were there, and they booked out of there because they were worried about trying to get home on the metro.
Yeah, and again, I think
More
that
locals than people from out of town.
I was thinking that you were in there when I came up before, but it's almost fine that we had this happen. It's not ideal or anything, but from now on, whoever plans anything for the foreseeable future will think about the potential of something like this happening. So hopefully, it'll never catch anybody off guard again for a while. Like something like that we probably could have anticipated it, even though it would have been like a crazy, gamble.
Yeah, it was the postseason run for the Nats was it was a fairy tale run, so they weren't supposed to be in the World Series, much less win it.
Yeah.
So,
that was something that. Oh God, sorry. That was something that I wasn't again really planning to do. This new software is pretty cool, and it was something that I've been putting off, since it was on November 2nd. It's just that I just barely got this new computer and I had a chance to play with it. And I was looking at it, I'm like, this is actually a pretty tough job. I must see how long it took. And it took a little while, but nowhere near as long as it would have taken on the old computer. And then to render it took like 5 minutes. It was amazing. I squished stuff and I put all kinds of text and stuff in there, and it still rendered it really quick. But anyway, so then because it didn't work well on YouTube, I went live for a bit. But aside from that, Matt had his show. We were talking about Star Wars. Did you see Star Wars?
I did not. I was going to, but then my youngest son had something at school, and if you know me, I am all about family. So
yeah,
I don't miss
it. So what's that? The movie's not going anywhere. You'll be able to watch it at any time, obviously.
Yeah.
We're planning on seeing it at least, so we won't chat about that too much. But anyway, we were just
I know everything about it. So
okay. We've been chatting about it for a while.
I read a Reddit post, and they were talking about like, oh, this is gonna happen, somebody came on there and said, hey, I have inside information, this is what's gonna happen. And everyone basically told the guy he was, full of it. And so I laughed at it too. I'm like, dude, this guy's a troll. This guy comes out of nowhere. Never been on Reddit before. Just said, hey, guess what? And he wasn't lying.
So maybe somebody from like the crew or somebody would have seen the script or something, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but it was just funny that everyone doubted this dude. And it turned out they shouldn't have doubted him because he nailed it perfectly.
I seen a thing.
Kind of funny.
I think it was on YouTube. It was a thing. They said, they leaked it a year ago. You mean?
Yeah.
I seen a thing. I think it was on YouTube where the guy who was Darth Vader, not the guy that talked, but the guy that was in the suit, leaked something about the "I am your father" stuff, and he's been blacklisted from Star Wars since. And when he sold them to Disney or whatever, he told them he still can't. That guy's still blacklisted.
Why is that?
Because that back in the day, he leaked the "I am your father" thing about Empire, and
Oh,
there's
you
like
did?
you can't leak shit policy or whatever. So ever since then, Lucas has said he can't go to any Comic Con. They don't let him go to anything. He's black. He can't go to anything Star Wars official. They don't
Wow.
even interviews or nothing. I mean, I never even thought about it, but I've never heard of the guy who's Darth Vader ever. You hear about everybody else. You see Chewbacca and C-3PO, but that Darth Vader guy, you never hear about him ever.
Well, we know why.
Yeah.
Lucas can be an asshole like that, where if you get on his bad side or whatnot, or if you wrong him in any way, he's done with you.
Well, they were just commenting about how there's no toys or whatever for this Baby Yoda, and that seems crazy because the whole reason Baby Yoda exists is to sell toys. But
Oh, there is now. I pre-ordered.
but they're saying yeah, pre-order. But I'm saying they were saying in this chat before that they didn't want to put toys or get toys started because they were afraid we would leak the Baby Yoda deal.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool that they're willing to, forego a couple of bucks to keep the experience cool for everybody and to keep that surprise as long as possible. Or, because that's a lot of commitment to keep, it's easy enough to just ask people to sign a, thing or whatever and just go ahead and make the toys and have them ready for Christmas. But anyway, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got my Baby Yoda Funko ordered.
I'm assuming that they're not going to be able to keep that kind of stuff in stock. If they had it, it would have been like the Cabbage Patch Kids of this year.
Yeah, well, the pre-orders I think are sold out.
But you won't see them anywhere time soon, right? It's going to be a while.
I think it's going to be at the end of next month.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
it's a vinyl figure, so it's not super hard to produce.
dude saying, who is John Crump? So the Daily Gun Show basically has turned into what do you call this thing? A panel discussion, and I invite people who are activists, people that do stuff. And John has been doing a pod. Well, I became aware you're doing your podcast a while ago now, and then
Yep.
does a lot of stuff.
I'm also GOA state director. I write for ammoland.com. Yeah, I'm all involved in the 2A community.
And have been for a while. So I've been throwing the link out, but it's what, 2 hours different for you? It's 11 o'clock here, so it's probably 1 or 2 by you.
Yeah, I gotta finish up. I'm doing a review of case. Their iron case. It's a heavy duty case, man. This is the one that Clover Tack threw off a cliff into quarry. And I haven't been able to destroy it. So I'm working on that. Going away in a couple days, so I'm trying to get some pictures before I go away. But yeah.
So that's answering the question, but that's why Johnson, like I send out links. I think they send them to maybe like almost 30 people today. But it's late on the East Coast and it's Christmas Eve. So anyway, I was gonna say somebody had said something in here about a breakfast or being rent in the house. You got your SHOT Show stuff without getting all kinds of details. You got your SHOT Show stuff figured out already, like your accommodations?
Yeah. I don't actually pay for my own. I go as AmmoLand. So I will be staying at the Venetian.
Okay, because I was going to ask if you're going with some group where you guys get a house or something again, or something like that.
No, not this time. I know the Exit crew, they're getting a house. But I'm not going with them. I am going with Emily, and I'm working the event, which means lots and lots of thing. You're going to SHOT Show, right?
What?
You're going to SHOT Show, right?
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah, I'm meeting up with someone of great notoriety there. And if you wanted to go, maybe talk to him. Think I think it might be good, and a good relationship.
Yeah, I've been
He
going to shop for a while.
he is.
I don't do too many plans ahead of time. I'll keep things in mind, and then I try to play it by ear because I've had just too many years. I just keep everything on a what do they call it, written in pencil.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could do that, but I can't.
I hear you. There's just so many things happening that I'm never satisfied with any strategy. So my strategy is to have less strategy, and that seems to be the one that allows me to get at least the opportunity for stuff because there's just too many things when you set something up for Tuesday. Of course, Murphy's Law or whatever. That's when every awesome thing you've ever wanted to do is going to be available.
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff I do is I'm assigned. So since I'm assigned, I can't really.
Oh yeah, well that's totally different. Yeah, that's
I'm not going as John Crump, podcaster extraordinaire or whatnot. I'm going as John Crump, writer for Amaland. And then I'm also meeting up to speak about what's going on in April at Virginia, outside DC.
I don't think you've been on, but your ears have probably been ringing because a couple of times Ohio has put out here that you did that interview with Stephen Williford, the guy who was nearby when that Texas church massacre happened, and he's some guy that grabbed the AR and some ammo in bare feet and went out and helped solve end the situation sooner than it would have. But
he's coming to Richmond on the 20th to speak.
Okay. Hey, how about
no, he's coming to Gunathon too.
I was gonna say I didn't get too many tangents or whatever. I'll ask you about that in a second. But I just wanted to tell you he's mentioning it out there right now, but that reminded me that it's come up a couple of times. And now that I've got you here, I just wanted to say thanks for all the other guys who've been out there recommending that video or that interview, I should say, that conversation.
Yeah.
Because it was really cool. Yeah. I mean, people know the story.
I'll be right back in 1 second. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I'm switching.
No worries. People know the story or whatever, but being able to hear it from the guys is a treat because he's just a regular dude. And, it'd be like if Clover or somebody had something happen at a national level and got a bunch of notoriety for something. He's comfortable and able to just talk about it, and he's super humble about it. So, yeah, it was a super cool interview. But, he had to jump out, and I gave Bob a link, but it's getting late. So we've already been going for almost an hour, and it's Christmas Eve, and I send these out to a lot of people. I never get anybody jump in, so I don't expect to get a swarm of people. All right. So I don't know how long I'm going to keep going. But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks, John, while I had you in a live chat to be able to say thanks for those other guys who've been recommending that conversation, being able to chat with that guy.
Yeah.
Or having that conversation with that guy gives you so much more insight to his personality and just his character, I guess, than just hearing the story like on a news feed or something. So that was pretty cool. Thanks.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Super cool. Yeah. Real down to earth. He's just a regular dude.
Yeah, and you hear about all this like anti-gun stuff and stuff like that. And one of the things that is very interesting is that church is more pro gun than it was before.
And that was part of the neat stuff too, to hear, um, I guess that unfiltered, because it's not that you're, I guess it's with a filter. If you get that stuff from any mainstream, any amount of positive pro to a tint or spin to it, references, anything is all going to get washed, right? It's all going to get left on the tape recorder. None of that's getting put in the story. So it's cool to hear stuff raw and to understand that guy's living the same perspective as we are and has the same perspective as stuff as we do.
Yeah, especially, he talks about how he wished he would have kept his rifle loaded, but at the time, he thought it was a bad idea because in case what if somebody finds it and stuff like that. But now he changed his view. He's like, I wish I would have had a full magazine instead of 7 rounds.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, I'm not a fan of looking at every instance of a situation that happens and then trying to remind everybody that it might happen to you, it could happen to you, it could happen to you. We live in a super safe time in a super safe country. It could happen to anybody, but it probably won't happen to anybody, but you don't get to choose. So listening to somebody like that who isn't beating himself up, he wasn't like a Rambo waiting for it to happen. He's aware and learned lessons. And again, he's not like beating himself up. He didn't like flip a switch and try to like justify it. And now he's like, everybody needs to be this, good or whatever. He just really dealt with it really well. And he still has what's the word? Like a good level head about it. Really cool dude.
Yeah, I mean, I liked how he wasn't like when I asked him, "Were you scared?" He wasn't like, "Oh no, I'm not scared." Blah blah blah. He was honest. He said, um, "I wasn't scared. I was terrified." So yeah,
And it was saying that it was almost as if something happened at a national level to Clover, because the guy is super comfortable and able to talk about it. He's not like desperate for attention, so he's not drawing it out or nothing either. He's just, yeah, he's a really cool dude.
and he's not playing it up either.
Yeah, exactly. He's not like trying to make a living for the rest of his life off of this situation or nothing. He's just willing to talk about it, because a lot of people, when this stuff happens, especially a guy like that, isn't necessarily going to want to keep talking about it. But that's cool. He's cool. It's cool that he's willing.
Yeah, he's willing to because the way that the mainstream media kind of played how they presented what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, which if I was part of it and took down the shooter basically or stopped the shooting from keep on going, then I would have. I mean, I would be out there too trying to correct the wrongs.
You ever
One
talk
thing,
to Carrie?
yeah, I can hear you.
No. Did you ever talk to Carrie Sloan?
Yeah,
I don't know if it'd be a better suggestion for her or for you, but I think you, because you write more. But what about a series or something where you focus on people like him? And I'm thinking of maybe the Santa shooter, Marcus, and others who I just can't think of off the top of my head as much, but people who've gotten like a bad rap, maybe Susanna Hoff, like people who something happened to them in the news or in life, and then the news caught a hold of it and they became a news story for a bit, and then more than likely, well, most of the people I'm thinking of, all the people I'm thinking of, talk to them or focus on the aspect that their story got taken. I don't know what the word is, but like taken out of context, or like the pieces that were omitted from their stories in order to set a narrative. And when we talk about Second Amendment advocates or people to interview or like people to talk about, that's a set of characters I don't think I've ever seen all put together, like the people who have had celebrity thrust upon them. Is that the right word? Or like news focus thrust upon them, like out of
yeah,
nowhere, we're prepared or looking for it. and then how their stories have been just taken. Because that's the one thing that when you said that, what made me think of all this is that's one thing I hear when I'm hearing interviews from people who are capable and interested in having an interview after that situation, is they all say how frustrating it is that the media did what they did to them afterwards. And it's almost like, it's like they go through some kind of situation, a tragedy that they didn't ask for, it just happened to them. And then the way that they're treated by the media is a whole nother level of abuse or something. And I know it gets focused on when we interview them, but I guess accumulating all those stories together. I mean, I don't know how interesting it'd be, but I've never seen them all accumulated together.
I think it would. I think it would be very interesting.
I think it might be interesting, or it might be a good resource for somebody who has it happen to them. Then they don't have to go out and seek out, each book or each account or each interview. If they had them all together in one place, that's why I was thinking it might work for Carrie as like the aspect of victims, empowering victims, a way to, I don't know. But let's go back to Gunathon. So with all this stuff happening, is that affecting Gunathon at all?
I would say honestly, it's probably helped Gunathon more than anything else. I had to offload a bunch of like almost all the responsibility for Gunathon to someone else because of my work on Virginia stuff. So we have a few
And I would
different
imagine
people.
it's happening in Virginia, right?
Yeah, it's happening in Virginia, but
So
we
it's
have.
bigger now because of Virginia also now, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've had people reach out to me, um, like from all over, saying, "Hey, I want to come. I want to do this. I want to help out. Can I volunteer? What can I do?" So, just trying to see what we can work out with those people. A lot of people have contacted us and want to speak. Those positions are filling up pretty fast, um, because of the amount of people that want to speak now.
When was it going to be? In March?
It's an April 20. It's on April 25th.
Okay, so it's not changing the dates or anything? Nothing's
We're
changing.
not changing the dates or anything like that. And also the sponsorships, uh, the amount of people wanting to sponsor, it has the amount of companies have jumped up too.
Now, so you went to Red October. So we have that in common. Like we have that as a common reference or whatever.
Yeah.
What's Gunathon? How are you envisioning Gunathon compared to Red October?
It's gonna be different. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be Red October, but it's gonna be indoors for one. The range is inside. We
Oh,
have
indoor range.
yeah, but
I
this is
think
the cool thing.
I just always assumed outdoor. So I think I've always pictured outdoor. Okay.
Well, we have in April. It's kind of hit or miss with the weather in Virginia,
Uh-huh.
but we have 35, um, 35 lanes for one. And the cool thing about this location is that it they have a convention center on site that connects to the range.
So the 35 bays or whatever, that's not just in one, is that just one big thing or is that like
Uh,
three?
there's 4 ranges
Okay, so that's
inside,
four, and then they're connected to a big
but
auditorium type of convention
yeah,
center thing.
yeah, where they hold MMA events. So
Nice.
that's where we're gonna set up the booths and also the speakers. And
I was
our
going to say, because yours are going to be different in that you're going to have speakers. Like Red October didn't really have anything that focused or whatever.
no, we're gonna be definitely focused on 2A stuff.
And
And
then no competition, that part of Red October. But as far as, because I know you were talking about it being at a range. So I just assumed an outdoor format with tents and stuff. So you're going to have the range there. Is it going to be like manufacturers have their stuff and you can pull triggers?
yeah, yeah. all the manufacturers there is going to have range time. So, and they're going to have their stuff there, so you can try it out. So that's different from Red October. Well, the Red October
Well,
had
that
that as
part's
well.
the same, yeah. It's just that it's going to be indoor. So they'll have like maybe 3 or 4 vendors in a bay, and then that way people come in, shoot, and they actually won't need to go down range ever because you got all the stuff there. So you can just
Yeah,
service come back.
yeah, and some of the speakers that you might have heard of, Maj Toure of Black Guns Matter, who's going to be pretty big. Um, John Patton from the Gun Collective, who I've gotten to know, and he's a pretty cool guy. Cheryl Todd, Kevin Dixie, going to be there. Carrie's going to be there. Jason David Frank, the Power Ranger guy. Eric Blanford from Iraq Vet 888. Um, Tim Harmston from Military Arms Channel. He's actually going to be speaking too. Obnoxious is going to be there. Hank Strange, the Gun Doctor, a lot of different people. And Trill Toya is going to be there. She has an interesting story. You can follow her on Instagram at Trill Toya. But she was at a nightclub, and a guy came in with an AK-47 and started shooting at the nightclub. And she was pulled her Glock 19 and engaged the shooter with the AK-47 and was able to take him out.
Where was that?
This was in Florida, I believe.
Oh, it just didn't make news because it didn't go.
Yeah, this was
Whatever.
this was a while ago. Yeah, I guess it was.
You got Guns and Gadgets. Jared's going to be there.
Yeah, Jared's going to be there as well. And we have some other.
Did you ask Liberty Doll?
Liberty Doll. Did I? I think she might be one of the unannounced guests. But let me double check that because we haven't announced everyone.
You still do have people that are off the.
Yeah.
Well, you're still announcing people, right?
Yeah.
It's
15th,
multi-day though, right? It's not just one day.
No, it's gonna be one day.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be from like 10 to 6. There's gonna be a dinner before that you can buy tickets to. The 15th is gonna be our official kickoff where we start really promoting it. We start putting out who's gonna be there, information about them, and like the sponsors and stuff like that. So that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, very cool.
When people find out some of the people that are going to be there. But yeah, it's going to be. Let's see, I'm trying to think. It was New Year's Eve. This happened in 2018, Huntsville, Alabama. That's where it happened, where she was able to engage the shooter at.
Yeah, if it did come up, I don't. It happened so quickly, or maybe it happened and got overshadowed by something, but I can't remember for the life of me.
No, not a lot of people. Not a lot of people actually heard of it, but it happened on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2018, and no one heard of it, which is kind of crazy.
Now, you're talking then, like in that convention center, is it going to be booths and stuff, like a version of a shot or a gun show or something, or is it going to be like a auditorium and a stage, so it's mostly seating for people?
No, there's going to be booths. There's plenty of room for booths. There's going to be 10 by 10 booths, 8 by 8 booths, and 6 by 6 tables.
Okay, so a bunch of fiddle with stuff. Check out.
Yeah, there's going to be a radio row with podcasts going on. It's going to be a lot of autograph signing. People are going to be meeting people, getting things signed. There's going to be giveaways. I think we have like 8 guns to give away so far. So basically a gun an hour.
Having a bunch of things there. You're going to have like auctions or something, silent auctions or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. Not yet. Maybe.
I guess it depends on how that works with nonprofit status and legality or whatever. But I was just
Yeah.
having everybody in one spot. If you had like a thing or a couple of things that you had everybody sign, then that adds value, because not only is it a thing, but now it's a thing that everybody who was there at this thing signed. It's one of a kind. It's unique now. And you might get people that vote up, especially for Virginia, put a bunch of what do you call it, bids in on something like that, increase the value on it.
Yeah. I mean that's a good idea. One of the things that we are fighting is that people won't let go that the old owner of the range what we're holding it at was like a Hillary Clinton supporter and supported a bunch of Democrats. But that's the old owner, not the new owner. But for some reason, people are like, "Well, you didn't never know. Maybe it's some type of backdoor deal they did." I'm like, and I just don't get it.
Hmm.
Like we're GOA, we can assure you that the new owner is not anti-gun. He's donating a range in a convention center to us.
Are you planning on trying to get? It's more than just a local event, right? You're like going to try to market it to people who travel to get there.
Yeah, Antonia Okafor is going to be there as well. But yeah, people can definitely travel to it. We can have hotel specials um, and stuff like
Is
that.
there a
That's,
way to? Is there a way to get like I guess the equivalent of a gift certificate for travel, like for airlines or something, so that you could do something where you could win a trip to win a all expense paid trip too.
I can. That's a good idea too. Maybe I should have you on the team.
I just want to see stuff succeed, but I like it. And the thing that I guess I'm alluding to is since I've had the 2A rally on my mind. One of the things that bugged me about the rally, I've already mentioned it too, I think, is having the rally's cool, but having something before and after would have been nice too. Getting all the people in town, and then like I brought that. I'm not kicking my own self for this, but like I brought that the flag with the 2A rally logo on it. I should have probably carried that around and had everybody sign it with a marker or something, and then we could have auctioned that shit off and thrown the money at something, because that's the kind of stuff that can happen, and it can turn garbage into resources for something, right? The next one, or bills or whatever, or nonprofit.
Yeah. The ticket price is kind of steep, but it all goes to a good cause, and right now we need it. And plus, what you get, the amount of prizes that we're going to have there is insane. So you think about it as not only a ticket, but like you're entered in like literally like 30 different raffles for different stuff. And then the price isn't that bad.
What's the price?
It's like $50.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like 150,
No,
especially for like something that's a fundraiser. I think our local organizations are like 30 or 40.
yeah, but some people are like, why isn't it 10? And it's like, well, then we
And then did
wouldn't
you
really
say
make any money.
you are feeding them or no?
There should be food there, yes.
Then that's even more so. But again, that's I guess something that we're going to have to either number one learn to ignore because it's probably happened through all the time, but otherwise take the challenge of letting people know that like not everything is entertainment event. We're not setting this up to give you fabulous prizes. We're doing this to try to educate and get people together and raise funds. So if you want to come and actually come face to face and get off of the line where everybody gives a shit for doing everything online, well, here's a place, an opportunity to show up, and not just show up, but do it, gather in a place where we're all together. So there's significance to it on a specific date and time, and not just casually, hey, let's meet at the range one day, and then if it never happens, who cares? We're trying to make things happen and change shit. So yeah, you're going to show up and pay $50 because it's not a Target, trying to buy soap the cheapest you can on a Saturday. This is trying to, or a Walmart trying to buy the cheapest socks you can find. this is trying to keep our Second Amendment going, and
Yeah.
hoping people are going to leave a lot more than $50. You know, you can buy one ticket for 50, or you can buy three for 200. Because we're not trying to give you a deal; we're trying to raise money.
Exactly. And all the speakers and all the guests are actually paying their own way to get there. So that is pretty amazing.
Well, I'm hoping I'm going to try to. I don't know. You know how it is with SHOT Show, and you're going to SHOT, right? Yeah, we just talked
Yeah.
about it. Where how it is with going to try to think, get my thoughts here. We got the SHOT Show coming up, and we got the beginning of the year, and we got all the different stuff that's happened with the rally, with the NRA, with the election, and with and all the stuff that I guess hasn't happened or whatever. So as we get going into 2020, my goal is to start the interviews again. I don't think there's any chance of me changing the minds of the people at AmCon. So I'm not going to bother to do that anymore. I'm just going to do my own thing again. I was doing those interviews with who, why, and how. That's all I give a shit about is who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and how you do it, because I want to get other people on board, especially with people like Ken Blanchard retiring, right? I'm going to start doing some interviews with people. So I'd like to get John to chat about you again, but then also Gunathon before, it's getting, once you're ready to start, with all your stuff.
Yeah,
But
one of the things that's really cool about Gunathon is that if you want to know how to get involved and how to start advocating for Second Amendment, this is going to be the event that you're going to want to be there. So that's one of the things we're going to be concentrating on is how do I get involved? How do I start making a difference? How can I be a gun advocate?
yeah, have you talked to Tim Knight?
I have not.
You know who I'm talking about, though?
Yes.
So I never talked to him either, but his deal one time is he told me, I only talked to him like twice. He told me though that one of his, I think I'm allowed to talk about this, and I'm sorry if I'm not, but I think he said one of his deals, let's just forget it was Tim Knight. Let's just say I heard from a guy. Now it's totally good. Nobody has to worry about nothing. I just heard from this one guy one time that he was trying to put together what to call it, like a packet or like a worksheet kit or whatever the hell they call it, like a DIY kit for people who wanted to be 2A activists to get them from zero to hero on some of the stuff. Like that one time you brought all the knowledge on what was it? Sending out new press releases, stuff that people could probably go online and get a bunch of info, but here's a quick worksheet. Here's how to get the sanctuary cities. Here's some, sort of like the lawyer in a box. Here's some skill sets that you can, so I was thinking, something like that, like doing some workshops or something like that.
I'm working with a guy, Matt Death Cowboy, who's his real name is Matt Ballard, but he produces my podcast. Him and I are working on, because he's really deep into this, with acting like a go-between between like 7 different groups on this 2A sanctuary movement that we have in Virginia. So he is one of the major players in getting these 2A sanctuary movements passed, and he's been going around to county and teaching people. So I'm going to work with him, and we're going to do kind of like a series on how to get it going and resources.
You're talking leading up to the thing, though, not like at your Gunathon.
No, this is something that we're going to start hitting hard once I get back from my trip.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is the same kind of thing. Like I'd like to, well, I guess I was saying that I'd like to get the interviews going again, but mainly I'm going to try doing a couple of my projects a little bit differently. And I don't know, I'll chat with you more just privately or whatever, so we get together more before SHOT Show. And let me ask you this though quickly: if SHOT Show is 100% of the time, and I'm talking the whole time you're there that you're on the clock, right? Because everybody's different. Some people jump up early and they don't go to the night stuff. Some people get up late, miss part of SHOT Show, but get so much more accomplished after work, after SHOT in the evening. So I don't know. I don't really care. It's up to you how you do it. But if you consider SHOT Show being 100% of the amount of waking hours you got there, how much of it are you obligated to already? Like what percentage of it do you still have as your time, or if any?
No, it's my editor is pretty cool with it. As long as I get my stories filed, then I'm good, and I'm pretty good with that. Uh, and a lot of it is setting up stuff for the future.
Your own, or 40%?
What's that?
But I'm saying like 50% of the time is your own, or like you barely have 10% of the time is your own, or it's 90% of the time.
During the actual show days, during the actual shows, from kickoff to end, I would say probably about 80% of the time, I'm to and from meetings with different people.
Okay, I'm just trying to get an idea of like what kind of time people have, because I talk to some people and they're like me, they leave it completely open, so I can't judge. Some people like yourself have stuff, so that gives me an idea of, like I say, shot is such a difficult thing, and there's so many things change. It's like trying to, I'm sure it's like air traffic control or trying to predict iceberg flows or something. Like it's the best you can do is know all the horrible things that have happened when you tried to do things in the past, and try not to duplicate those exact things, and just keep gaining more experience. But what I'm alluding to is, since SHOT's coming up, because of everything I'm just saying here, I think it's very futile. I've never had any success trying to plan something back in October or even before. Some people start, except for a booth or something obvious, a hard, tangible thing, but trying to create a project like in October or November, even just haven't brought it up yet, because even trying to put something together now for SHOT Show is tough. You'd have to just really put all your eggs in one basket. If you can put something medium to large size together just right before SHOT Show, there's a potential that you can find enough people to actually accomplish it, because there's people that are going to go and have different levels of obligation, right? And if you can catch the right amount of people that have very little obligation, you've got a lot of potential when the industry's all together. And, in past years, I've tried to, accomplish something like the most reviews or the coolest access, or, like, a complete collection of something. I've tried so many different strategies over 15 years. Now I really just would like to see what would happen to change our what's the word, like our relationship as media from SHOT Show. We go there as observers and archivers, and I don't think we have to be limited to that. And I'd like to at least whisper. I've been whispering into people's ears. I think that it's, I'm going to try to at least be nimble enough to keep a couple of interesting people on my Rolodex or whatever, and if we can figure out something interesting to do something interesting in SHOT that has some consequences, similar to what the 2A rally did. I'm not trying to start a giant event at SHOT Show or nothing, but just trying to get some idea of who all's doing what and who all will be there.
Well, we have
often something can happen organically, like, oh snap, you make 3 or 4 texts and then boom, something happens, and something that you could have never planned happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we have several different people from GOA that's going to be at SHOT Show meeting with companies, actually. Because companies want to get on board now.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm glad to hear that, because I think that's something that's critical, that they've been wasting their time, I think. And what happens when a company, let's say, building boots or boats or bullets, doesn't matter, bandages, beans, doesn't even matter, right? Whatever they're building, if they're spending $1 million or $1,000 or somewhere in between, $100,000 or $10,000, doesn't matter. If they're spending that on reinforcing some old dumb narrative on some old tired thing, some old tired whatever, and the worst part is they're probably got enough, some of these companies, I'm sure, especially the like I'm just assuming some of the hunting stuff and some of the, more obscure stuff, but even some of the AR stuff and some of the gun stuff, they're probably got enough like of a good business plan down that they don't even realize that their marketing is ineffective. It's just part of their budget and they spend it. But because no one's ever challenged them and they don't have anybody who's like trying to be cutting edge because what's working is working, I bet you there's a lot of money out there that's just churning away and keeping things alive that I don't think necessarily need to be alive. And not that I want to see them disappear, and I'm not giving them value. And I'm thinking of like magazines and television shows and cable stuff. Like I understand that there's value and there's some need for that stuff, but I suspect, just based on my observations, that some of that stuff just exists because, like I'm trying to explain, these engines were established decades ago and nothing's challenged them, so they just keep going. But I would just like to see some of that money diverted into 2A for everyone, or Skips Tactical, or I don't know, Gunthon, right?
Yeah, well, I think GOA is going to be in a really good position going into the SHOT Show with different people.
Yeah,
There's
like
like,
they've got the best position next to NRA.
yeah, and in
Well, I shouldn't
certain
use it.
ways,
They're the biggest three-letter. And NRA has no position at SHOT Show. They never have. I mean, their current situation has nothing to do with it. They just are never at SHOT Show. There's no part.
well, they want to concentrate on their own show.
Yeah, exactly. For lots of reasons, they're not there. But I used them as a bad example. GOA has never been at SHOT Show. I mean, they're there, but they've never had like a big presence. They're not going to have a big presence. I'm sure it costs too much. And it's a waste of time.
Well, we're not doing like a big booth like NRA is.
Yeah.
Like NRA used to.
That's true. The
I'm not
NRA
sure. I'm not sure if they're
always-
going to do it this year or not. But because a lot of them was like NRA TV and stuff like that. So now that that's gone, I'm not sure how big the booth is going to be. But our focus is going to be like partnership with different companies. So we're going to meet with different companies.
Yeah, like I say, that's awesome because again, it's
You don't
stuff that you guys the
you don't feel
GOA
a need for a big booth. Like the big mega booth. I don't know if anybody out there has been to SHOT Show besides you or I, but NRA has this like monstrosity of a booth usually.
No, you're right. I never even thought about that. And it doesn't do anything. It just sits there being pointless because they don't do anything. They just sit there reminding people they exist. And
Yeah.
you remember where Second Amendment Foundation always was over there between like CAR and North American Arms, kind of.
Yeah.
That booth, he told me that booth cost him $8,000, and that was cheap. Like that was a discounted booth, but they
Yeah.
got sick of paying, so now they're downstairs. So if that little tiny booth at a discount cost $8,000, the what do you call it? The one that NRA is getting, even at a discount, is way more than that.
Yeah,
But
that booth is like
even absolutely zero, dude, zero, because that's just the real estate. Then you got to build the actual thing, and that costs a lot. Hundreds. It costs as much as a big good truck or something. And then you got to bring people there and have them sit there. So now it's feeding them and on the clock and travel and driving around in a hotel. It's ridiculous, because you can get 1,000 times more accomplished just bringing those people and letting them do their thing. But on the other hand, you guys never really have a table downstairs either, really, do you?
No, we don't. We
I
don't.
think you actually do, but it's not like anybody sits in it. You guys just kind of call it in. But I understand it's SHOT Show. It's nobody's there for that.
Yeah,
But
the people that we have there,
the industry does change it and figure out that just diverting a portion, not even a shit ton, but just a portion of what they spend would just fill every valid nonprofit and encourage more, and they could see what happens when they truly it's the sort of same thing as like supporting a little league baseball team, right? Like some people are going to go, oh, that's ridiculous, and then the people that support it figure out that every kid that plays understands that hardware store supported them. Every parent knows that hardware store supported them, and every purchase decision those two humans and everybody they talk to about hardware stores is going to remember this hardware store. People are in an industry where they think that picking up a magazine, you're somehow going to remember a magazine. If I see an ad in a magazine, I'm usually disappointed knowing just an idea of how much money they spent for that ad in there. I think, like, they're making way too much money off of me. Like, I'm never going to buy this product if they're making that kind of overhead. But
Well,
it's not.
there's a couple good companies out there that already does really good work with GOA. X-Tech, for example, X-Tech Tactical. Um, they actually raised a lot of money for us. That's why we were staying at their house out there to save us money when we were out at Red October. So they are a really close company with us. And Rifle Dynamics, um, everybody who works for Rifle Dynamics, every single person at Rifle Dynamics is a GOA member because the ownership of Rifle Dynamics, that's one of the things you get when you go work for Rifle Dynamics is a membership to GOA. Which is really cool.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. If they just did that kind of thing, as if they were just offered that kind of thing and didn't even do it at a discount, but just like, hey, if you did that, let us know or something.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, if we do this, can if you talk to somebody who makes laser engravings on spoons or reloading press, something, then or like a reloading press, yeah, like you could go to a reloading press place and say, look, if you were to, because everybody's got a laser printer, if you were to take one of your presses and laser engrave, GOA supporter, blah blah blah, and then when somebody buys this one for $50 more, you give $50 to GOA, and then they get that thing lasered on there. Like that's the kind of stuff that everybody would be like, oh, that's cool. I can have an option. I can buy the GOA one now. But then you got the potential of that relationship with that company now, and they can laser engrave you a whole bunch of something for for a whatever kind of project you might have in the future. So I
Yep.
could see that again being the kind of thing that's what Shot's all about. That's what it's for the relationship. So it'd be cool. I think it'd be neat because if you start doing it, with let's say 10 companies or whatever, 20 companies or 5 companies, whatever it is, then some of those companies who didn't work with you are going to go, dang it, I missed out, or I wish they would have asked me, or like I should have said yes, right? And then somebody else, like Tony, somebody else, they can go, oh, I'm going to still give money. I like the concept. So I like the idea that it starts, I guess, relationships in a new direction. It gives people an example of a way that they can work with nonprofits or activists.
Yeah, well, one of the cool things that X-Tech does is in California and other states, you can't have a magazine with more than 10 rounds. So for the longest time, X-Tech wouldn't make a 10-round mag because they were totally against the 10-round magazine ban. But, the demand was there in California and other states. So they said, fine, we'll make a 10-round mag because we don't want to punish the people that are there just because the government makes a stupid decision. But what we are going to do is for every 10-round mag we sell, we're going to give $1 to GOA from it. So every time they sell a 10-round mag, GOA gets $1.
Yeah, I like that. And that's the kind of thing, again, just by letting them know it's an option, now somebody else can do the same thing. And that's not like, I'm sure they're not the only ones. Even when I was going to do the almanac, somebody emailed me and said, I would buy one if you didn't print it in California. So there's probably all kinds of people that are thinking the same thing, as that guy, except, with a different industry or a different product or whatever. And then you're giving them that excuse, I guess, or that like, okay, I guess I will do it because there's a benefit from it. Like there's a reason that, I'm doing something worthwhile. And maybe you just make them realize, hey, that's a bunch of gun owners you're hurting, not the state of California. They could care less. In fact, it's probably pissing off the state of California that people do work with the gun owners there.
Yeah, so I mean that's one good thing. Jeremy over at Exec is a huge GOA supporter, and a huge gun rights guy himself. So that's why I like Exec. Rifle Dynamics is another good company that works with GOA a lot, and there's going to be a bunch of other ones that are following their lead. Okay, so that is a really good thing.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it is late and we haven't had a comment over there for like almost a half an hour. We only got 15 people, so I'm by no legal means required to keep the show going. So at this point, I'm going to say thanks, John, for jumping in. Did you want to plug anything? You got anything? I know it's the eve of Christmas Eve, but you're taking some time off. I didn't even think I'd expect to see you around.
Well, no, I'm not taking time off. I'm taking from doing the live streams, but I got some stories I have to write. Like I still have a leaked ATF document that I'm going to bust open. I just finished reading it, so I'm gonna bust that open probably the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people would read it.
I know over back in the day, I haven't really paid too much attention to views or numbers or, you know, really anything like that. I've not been focused on that. But back in the day, the time around Christmas was pretty dead. Like people were either getting ready and planning, and then once the day hit, it was a dead day. Like nobody was online, everybody was doing their thing, either traveling or doing. And then after, everybody was playing with their toys or whatever. So again, nobody was around. So Christmas was a real barren spot. It let us do all our updates, and I got a lot of work done. Nowadays, are there a ton of people reading, or is it the same kind of vacuum of views during this time of year?
Well, the Christmas there's going to be a vacuum, but this the whole I'm going to be filing articles to be released after. But the leaked document thing is one of those things where I don't think can or should wait. Um, you know, so that's why we're gonna probably push that out
Okay, so
early.
it's not so much like there's people chomping at the bit, and that if you're not there, then they're going to go somewhere else and you'll be losing business. But just that this is urgent or whatever, it's more important than leaving it sit for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's more important to be leaving it sit for a few weeks. It's definitely more important because of I don't want I want to get this information out, and I don't want them the ATF to find out that I have it, and then find some way to block it. They know I have something, they just don't know what it is.
Right on. Well, with that, thanks for jumping in at the late hour, and good luck with your, I guess I don't want to call it a deadline, but with the project and
Well,
one with Holly.
actually, they do know what I have now. Um, I misspoke. They do know what I have now, but they have not responded, and I don't want to give them the chance of being able to try to block it somehow.
Now, Pink had an interesting question. He says that document would be good to ask questions at the ATF booth at SHOT. Do you think booth? Yeah. Do you think SHOT? Yeah. Do you think the ATF will be at SHOT this year? Because they've boycotted other years.
I don't know.
They haven't really done anything super horrible. And I mean, last year, I think it was they were not there. The year before, I think they were not there. It was a couple of years they haven't been there. Whenever they do something super bad, they just don't show up anymore.
Facebook's gonna be there.
Huh?
Facebook's gonna be there.
No, the ATF.
No, Facebook's gonna be there though.
Okay.
They're there every year. People are surprised about that.
They have a booth there?
No, they don't have a booth, but they meet with all the manufacturers.
Really?
They're at NSSF down in Florida, and they go to NRA. They go to all the gun shows.
Huh. Just to like see what the what the
No, they'll meet with the manufacturers and discuss like Facebook policies on guns and stuff like that. to try
That's what
to
I mean.
clear it up.
Are they trying to hone their filters and stuff, or are they like?
No,
See,
they're trying to explain what their filters are to big manufacturers.
so it's
And
not so much like customer service as like tech support.
kinda, it's like, and like for
Or like,
example, my editor met with Facebook to figure out, what's the deal with their policies. So the policies were explained to them, and all their questions were answered. But they don't make that available to everyone. It's just like big companies.
Yeah, but
It,
that makes it efficient for Facebook, I guess, because then they can just go to one spot, make all those appointments, get it all done in one place, and not have to travel or make a
exactly,
billion phone calls and all that. Yeah, that
exactly.
actually probably happens quite a bit, and you don't think about it, but depending on what kind of manufacturer or importer or whatever, there's all kinds of crazy regulations. So just to comply, they're probably dealing with all kinds of things. You get into stores, you get into e-commerce, you get into relationships with buyers groups and things. Like there's all kinds of little appointments that happen, and it's not all just buying and selling directly. Like I'm buying this many backpacks off of you. Some of it is just let's figure out a way that you can stay in business so that you can sell any backpacks. But yeah. So anyway, do you think the ATF will show? Well, I guess we don't know because they haven't really done anything putting their foot in their mouth. They're just
Oh, actually, hold on. I can check. I'll tell you right now. Give me a second.
well, they always have the same booth. They always say they're going to be there. They always have it reserved. It's just that if they don't show up, they set up like a hot dog stand in it. But in the past, they what year was it? I think it was the year that they went back on the brace, and I can't remember. They kind of bleed together. Either 15 or 16, maybe 17. They went back on the brace. I think it was like 15 or 16, and then we wanted to confront them, and then they, because it was no, in 15. What am I saying? It was 15. They said you couldn't shoulder, so we all went to the booth and we're like, what is going on? And they're like, oh, we won't talk to you. We're compliance officers here. We're not public relations. Like, they're not the right kind of cop. So okay, I can understand that, but like, why do you come here with this situation and not bring your PR people? What's wrong with you? Well, we're here for the industry or whatever. So it's like, all right, I guess. But what the fuck, ATF? Like, realize that there's cameras here. I mean, up until 10, up until 15, pretty much since I forget 9 or 10, I guess. Whenever I went to North Carolina, I think I've been so for like 5 years. I went and asked the ATF or FBI some question just so that each year I was involving the government regulatory enforcement agencies in the coverage of the show because hardly anybody even knew they were there. And last couple of years, instead of dealing with the confrontation, I guess, they just don't bring a booth. So after that time in 15, I think it was 17 or something, I forget what they did. And they did something and everybody showed up to have that same confrontation with them and bitch that they didn't bring PR people and they weren't even there. It just said ATF on the little sticker, like when somebody doesn't show up at shot. And then the next time it happened was either last year or the year before. Pink might know. And not only were they not there, but there was like a hot dog stand set up there, like coffee and hot dogs. I'm like, oh my goodness, they definitely aren't showing up this year. But I think this year, I'll bet you they'll be there.
Yeah, we will see. They have a media day that at least they used to up in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
What do they do there?
Basically, basically they take you on the tour, and they give you this spiel around what they do and stuff like that. Show you different departments and stuff like that, and then they have a question session.
Did you do that? Did you go to that?
Last time that they had it was like 2 years ago, and I was out of town, and my editor was like, "Hey, can you go to this?" I was like, "I'm not in town, so no."
They, I think they moved from that place down to or just out of DC now. I
Well,
think Martinsburg anymore.
Well, they're still in Martinsburg.
Well, maybe the is it the technology branch might have moved because I said something about something to somebody that I wanted to go to the technology branch in West Virginia, and they said, oh, they moved to outside of DC. It was, I mean, what is it, 2-day drive or whatever? It's like a day to get up there.
From
So
Martinsburg?
closer.
No, Martinsburg's only like an hour outside DC.
No, it took way longer than an hour. It was it was more than an hour from Shotgun's Nest. Unless there was some route, because I went to the Shotgun's Machine Gun Nest and then across. So I don't know if I took some long way.
You must have taken a long way because I've been out to Martinsburg many times.
Well, anyway, I was told after, and I went there in 17, I guess, is when I went there. But anyway, I didn't know that they did some kind of tour. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, they only
the one downtown in DC, the tour of the FBI weapons lab or whatever it's called, the weapons archive or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long they did it. I just had one opportunity to do it, and I unfortunately was out of town.
Well, like I say, they might not even do it anymore. I know they did it or they let somebody in 12, but that's only 2 times I've heard of somebody doing something like that. They might not do it.
I guess it's 1 hour 20 minutes, depending on where you're going to.
Okay, then I must have been fighting across hilltops or maybe something because it took way longer than an hour.
Yeah, it's 1 hour 20 minutes, and I live about 20 minutes outside DC, so, and that's from DC, so it's a little bit under 1 hour from me.
All right. Well, with that, we were now going for another 20-something minutes. But he was out there chatting. So.
All right, cool. Thanks. Bye.
All right, man. So thanks again for everybody for jumping in. Have a good Christmas Eve tomorrow. I'll probably be back on if anybody's around. And then it's Christmas, so everybody can talk about what they got. Oh, shit. He jumped out. I didn't even get a chance to hit the button yet. So see you, Pink, and Ohio, and Woods, and Tim, and Nutflutter, and Bob. He never jumped in, but they don't have Canada. They have Metric Canada. And then Mad Sexy was out there in pants, and Two Gun Kitty. Is that everyone? See, the thing, this doesn't give me anybody who's in here. Does this thing still list everybody's in there? Little dots. Oh no, the participants say it was Pink, Netfutter, Lockjaw, and John Z. But I remember John Z was out there, so that's one. Pink's at work. Yeah, no worries, dude. I mean, I'm gonna do the show every night anyway. But yeah, I'm digging it. I got a bunch of videos made. There'll be some. Well, I tried to get that one out today. I'll figure out whatever I did wrong, and then stay tuned for lots more videos. It's getting fun to play with this software. We'll see you everybody tomorrow.